Hello everyone. In this video, I want to discuss some thoughts and workflow towards building a demo reel using Premiere Pro. I already have Premiere open, so what I'm going to do is click New Project in the top left, and up here I need to name my project. In this case, I'm just going to call it KB underscore demo reel underscore 2024. I already have a folder location in mind, so I'm just going to click here, do choose location, and I'm just going to copy and paste that path. And for project templates, I'm going to pick the standard templates project folder. So I'll click that, click create in the bottom right. It's going to think for a little bit. And now I have my project. So what the template does is it is going to create these couple of folders. These folders are only built in Premiere. It's not actually building folders inside your file explorer. Those you'll have to create manually. And it also creates these two sequences down here, both 1080 and 4K. I'm going to delete the 4K because I don't actually need it, because I'm just going to stick with this 1080 format. And what I'm going to do, since it is set to 2398, I'm going to actually right click it, go over to sequence settings, and I'm going to change this to 24 frames per second, only because all the projects that I've worked on that I'm going to use in this reel will be at 24 frames. So I'll go ahead and click OK, and there we go. So I'm going to pull this over so you can see I already have all these folders. Like I said, I created all these manually. And if I click inside this first one, O1 footage, I already have a bunch of renders that I'm going to use for this project. The quickest way, you can just drag and drop across all of these files. And then I'm just going to drag over here and let go. And now if I open this up, I have all these projects right in here. I can expand this name so you can see it a little better. And if I double click over here, this is the timeline for this sequence. So just to avoid any confusion, notice how the sequence does say 1080 2398, but the frame range is actually set to 24 because that's what I changed. I'm just going to go ahead and double click this. I'm just going to delete this backend like so. And actually, for a better naming convention, instead what I'm going to do is just call this KB underscore demo reel underscore 2024. That way, when I export this movie, it's actually just going to pull that name. From here, what I can do is I can just sort of click and drag one of these files over here into the time slider. You'll notice this particular video, two little squares kind of pops up. That's because the top side is the video and the bottom side is the audio. Just going to delete that. And also click and drag all of them all at the same time. So notice if I do this, what it's doing is it's actually putting every single sequence kind of side by side. And now I can quickly kind of scrub through, and it's already showing all of my pieces kind of back to back. Some of these do have audio and some don't. In this case, for this demo reel, I don't actually need any of this audio. Now, if you try and click and select the audio only and hit delete, notice how it actually removes all the video instead. So first, what you want to do is I'm going to right click this, do unlink, and now the audio is separate from the video. Now I can click and drag off this and delete those. Now, I typically like working in this sort of workflow whenever I'm building a reel by just dragging all of my sequences kind of together just to even see what I have. For a demo reel, you typically want to put your best piece or one of your best pieces as the very first one, just because it is what's going to engage the audience from the get-go. So out of all of these pieces, I actually really like this one right here. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to click and drag it over to the front. Notice how you do have multiple layers, and then I'll just try and drag this side by side. And these videos will just kind of snap as you drag them along. So I'll do something like that. Now you can see your time slider up here. So this thing is about 14 seconds long. That is a bit too long, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'll probably just start reducing a little bit. If I zoom out a bit, notice how this sequence is going to a little over 2 minutes, which I would say is actually too long for a video. So I'm just going to kind of pull this back, and you kind of just need to worry about working on one or two shots at a time. So maybe I can just drag all of these, kind of butt that up against the hotkey on your keyboard. If you hit space will just start playing it in real time. You can kind of see how it plays out. And at the moment, what I really care about is these cuts in between the shots. So I just kind of want to watch it through and see how it looks as it starts playing. So maybe this one, and I can zoom in and out using the slider down here. I think this one I might actually cut down a little bit shorter, just because in a reel like this, I do kind of want these quick cuts, but that is going to be entirely based on the footage and sort of art that you're showing. So maybe this one, I think I'll just kind of cut back a little bit, scrub through here. This particular video actually has a few shots in it, but I think I'm going to cut it right here and make this one pretty short. And I'll just drag these over, just kind of connect it and see how this is playing so far. So just like before, this one's a little long. Another way you can, instead of just cutting this like so, you can actually just drag your footage and kind of overlap it, and it's automatically going to cut it. So do something like that. And I could actually bring down that first video just so it's all in the same line. Now, one of these projects, I do happen to have an AO render, a beauty render, and a wireframe. I don't necessarily want to play this whole thing every single time. So what I'm going to do is kind of have it transition. So I'm going to start off with kind of overlapping all of them. And so my bottom one is the beauty, my middle one is the AO, and my top one is the wireframe. And I think what would look nice is if I kind of use the same timing for all three and just do something like this. So now if I play it through really quick, going to kind of show off the beauty. It'll then cut to the AO and then cut to the wireframe, which I think is kind of nice. I just zoom in a little bit, and I'm just going to put these side by side. Just going to butt this up against the previous one. Now, right now, these are hard cuts, so notice how it just goes from one frame to the next, where it's going from beauty to AO. What I can actually do is make this transition a little bit nicer, and in this case, I'm just going to use a dissolve. So the dissolve you can find at the top right under video transitions. You can hit this drop down, and you're going to see a bunch of different transitions. You can also just search right here. So in this case, I'm just going to type in dissolve, and notice how there is video transition dissolve, and I'll just do a cross dissolve. So I can click and drag from here, and then I'm just dragging over into this timeline. So notice how you can see either the dissolve happens only on this beauty, it kind of happens across the two, or only on the second one. So in this case, I'm just going to drag it right there. And now if I kind of click through it, notice how it slowly dissolves to the next one. And you can even see it right here. You can see this little square that says cross D for cross dissolve. I'll just do it again on this one. And so if I play this back a little bit, you're going to see this dissolve kind of happen through the three videos. And I think that looks pretty nice. So pull back, just going to grab all of these, I'm going to butt this up. And so now if I look at this, I used to be over 2 minutes with this. Now I'm just at a little over 1:30, and I haven't even spent very long kind of putting this together. So I have another piece that has some similar renders. So just like before, there's a beauty, a wireframe, and an AO. I think with this, I'm going to actually switch this up and try a different idea. So I kind of feel like this sequence is a little too long, at least for this demo reel. So if I play this through, this camera just slowly kind of pushes through, shows off the environment. But for a demo reel, like this is a bit too long for me. So what I'm going to do is, just like before, I'm going to put these on top of each other just so I can see them. I'm going to grab all these, right click it, do speed duration, and instead of playing at 100%, let's try maybe 200%. That just means it's going to be twice as fast. So now I can kind of look at it, and that actually might be a bit nicer. Now something that might look kind of cool, this is just a test. What I can do is start off with this beauty and then go to this wireframe. However, I can't do the same thing that I did with the turntable, at least to make it seamless, because notice how, since the camera is pushing forward, it cuts to this one and all of a sudden the camera is back. So what I can do on this wireframe, right click here, I'm going to go back to speed duration, and I can actually reverse it. And just to make this one a little faster still, I think I'm going to hit 300%, hit OK. And now let's play this through and see how this looks. So the camera's going to push forward into this environment, then it's going to cut to the wireframe and then pull it back out. And I think that's actually kind of cool. And I don't think I'm going to use this AO, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete that, put these side by side, and maybe I'll try a cross dissolve on this. Now I am getting this little pop-up because technically it's going to be dissolving some of the wireframe over here, but this sequence actually starts over here. So what it's going to do, it's just going to kind of add a couple extra frames, but I don't think it'll be very noticeable. So just to kind of play it, notice how it kind of dissolves to the wireframe, pulls back out. And I think that's pretty nice. Go ahead and pull this out. Gonna grab all these. I actually have one more that kind of does the same thing. So just gonna grab this, just kind of go half, just like I've been doing. We'll do one more dissolve. I really only do these dissolves on renders like this, where it's cutting from like a beauty to wireframe. When it cuts to projects like this, I prefer hard cuts, so I'm just gonna leave those as is. Drag this over, and now my video is already almost at just about a minute, which is a pretty good range. Now, if you're using audio to kind of cut your video or some sort of music, I'm gonna grab that over here. So I already have a song over here. Whenever you use music for a demo reel, you always want to use royalty-free music, and you want to use something that isn't too distracting. So in this case, I'm just going to grab this instrumental one, drag this over here under music, and just like before, drag this over into the time slider. If you want to see the sound a little bit more clearly, you can actually expand this. This will just allow you to see the audio waves a little more so, just in case you're trying to cut shots to your music. And then I can just drag this over. I'm not actually going to time this audio, so I'll just do that. Now I do have a title card, so I'm going to go back over here. I put the title card under graphics, so I'm going to grab this, and I also have a single lower third. I'm going to drag and drop these under graphics like so, and I'm going to go over to the front. My title card happens to be split into two files. Just going to kind of put this on top of each other, and this title card actually happens to be made in 4K. So what I'm going to do is actually need to scale this down a little bit. So my logo right here over on the top left, depending on what drop down you're on, I'm going to change this to effects, and then there's scale, and so I can just put this 50, grab this one, and I'm just changing the scale to 50%. Now the way this happens to be made, notice how it's completely overriding my name. In an instance like this, I can just change my blending mode. So I'm going to change the blending mode of the top one to, let's do add. So now I can see both parts. So the only reason why I set it up like this is just because I wanted to be able to time the logo and the name separately if I wanted to. I can do something like that. In this case, I'm just going to leave it on top of each other like so. I'm going to grab all of these videos, and just like before, I'll butt it up against one another. And in this case, maybe I'll try a cross dissolve, just see how this works. So notice how I have the cross dissolve on just the bottom. Maybe I'll drag it. And right now the footage is coming through. I don't think I necessarily like that. So to cut between the title card to my first sequence, I think what I'm going to do is use a dip to black, and I'm just going to drag and drop this onto this first video. And all that means is it's going to fade the first video from black over into the video. This one just kind of happens to work well just because my title card is also black. Now it does look like I need to do the same to the title card. So maybe I'll drag both of these over, and I'll like so. Well, that timing is a little too fast. So grabbing that dip to black just on the title card, I'll try something like that. And maybe I'll shorten this as well. It's really going to come down to what sort of look you're after. So maybe something like that. I'm going to zoom out and just going to grab that title card, copying and pasting it to the back end. Did notice I have some audio on this title card, which I'm just going to remove by unlinking and then deleting, kind of like so. And the dip to black, I'm actually going to just delete those, kind of zoom out. So now if I look at my full reel, I have a title card at the beginning, cuts through different footage, and then gets to the very end. Now, if you're going to add any lower thirds, I have only created this one right here, so I'm just going to drag and drop it. Sure, I drag it over onto the correct sequence. And in this case, I know it's for this shot. I'm just going to drag it across the entire thing. So this one, I happen to make it in Photoshop only because I wanted it to be framed in the correct way, and I wanted to use text and a logo like so. If you are going to make lower thirds directly in Premiere, you can also do so by using the type tool, like right here. Now you can start typing your responsibilities, like so. You'll notice it is going to create this layer, which you can drag it and you can then reposition it. But like I said, I make it in Photoshop just so I can export a whole bunch of different files and just sort of drag and drop them where I need it to go. So as a final step, now will come the export. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to right click this KB demo reel 2024, go to export media. It's going to pop open the export. And what I want to use is, in this case, I am going to use an H.264 format. So it already happened to be set to that. And I'm just going to leave the settings as is and click export. Gonna think for a little bit. If I open up the folder, what it's going to do is it's going to create a file exactly where your Premiere project is. Gonna drag this aside. Notice how it's creating two files for a sec, but as soon as the video is made, you have your MP4 video, just like so.